loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner. And today I'm going to be sharing with you my most disappointing books of 2021. Again, hello, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner. If this is the first time you are seeing my face or if you've not yet hit that subscribe button, please do so. It's super easy and it really helps my channel grow. So as you could tell by the thumbnail and my little introduction, today we're going to be doing one of those standard end of the year videos where I'm going to be talking about my most disappointing books of 2021. So I shouldn't have to do this, but I am going to, as a little disclaimer, that for many of these books there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. A lot of them were just a disappointment for me. So a lot of them were 3-star books, but I had such higher expectations that they were a big letdown for me. Doesn't mean that there's anything absolutely wrong with the book. And if some of these might be your favorites, that is absolutely awesome. And I'm so glad that someone is able to find something that they love in these books because, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with these books. They just didn't do it for me. And a lot of them were just kind of letdowns, and that they weren't necessarily bad books. I just had higher expectations for them. So now that that's out of the way, I have 10 books here that kind of fell short for me this year. They're not in any particular order per se, but I definitely have one for me that I think are two that are the biggest disappointments of all. A lot of them I've already unhauled, so I don't have the book physically, but I will put a picture up here. So I'm going to scooch over to the side, so I'm going to look weird off center a little bit, but I will put a picture here of those books. So let's get started. All right, the first book I want to talk about that was a big disappointment for me this year was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret something. This is a fantasy story about like magic found in books, and I love the concept. Like the grimoires, I thought it was really cool. I thought the main character, female, was gonna be a really strong, badass character. But it fell really short for me. I honestly skimmed the end of it. I was super bored. And there was like this romance in there that I don't think was absolutely necessary in it. And I feel like it kind of took away from like the main plot of it. I honestly, you're going to see that some of these stories I don't even remember what they were about. So I really can't talk anything about it, but it just fell short of me. I know a lot of other people felt the same way too about this book. I have heard that some of her other work is a lot better than this one, so I am willing to try more by this author. I'm not ready to like write this author off, but yeah, it just was boring. Like I honestly don't even remember what I read. So, all right, the next book I want to talk to you about that I am going to, and I should say, these are books that I actually finished. These aren't the books that I DNF'd. These are books that I read from start to finish, so little side note. All right. The next one is The Taking of Jake Livingston. This is a middle grade fantasy. Is it a fantasy? I actually have it right here. I have not unhauled it yet. This is by Ryan Douglas. This is a story about a boy that can see ghosts, and he sees a kid that committed a school shooting. This book took a much darker turn than I expected. I did not realize that this was going to be about school shootings, and a big part of it is about school shootings. I'm looking at Goodreads now. My rating is around where everyone kind of is rating it. Overall, right now, it has a 3.48, so rather low, I would say. Some of it didn't make sense to me, and I felt like it was kind of all over the place in terms of the plot line. I just was kind of confused on where it was going, and it just had a lot of different things and elements in it that I just wasn't really sure on what we were trying to get across here. It just was an average book for me. Again, I was kind of disappointed. I was really excited to read this middle grade horror book, and yeah, it just ended up taking a lot darker twists from me than I thought, and I wouldn't really classify it as horror, even though it is technically classified as horror, but it was just an average book. I was saying I was slightly disappointed in it. All right, so the next one is The Ice Cream Man. This was a graphic novel I read, I want to say for a readathon. It might have been for Summerween, maybe? I don't know, but it's a graphic novel about this ice cream man who pretty much like there's drugs in the ice cream and it makes people see things, but they experience it differently each time depending on the person. That's literally what it is. And then there is like this, I honestly, that's it. Like, it's weird and it is strange. It is very strange. They see psychedelic things. I would be very curious to go into the person's mind who wrote this book, but literally they eat the ice cream and they like lose their mind. Like that is what happens in this book, and I just don't understand. Like it just was not for me. I didn't care for the artwork, and it was like creepy. Like it was weird. Like it painted a really bad picture for people who sell ice cream, because it pretty much is telling you that the ice cream person is giving you drugs. Very strange. All right, enough of that one. My next one is We've Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley something. I just actually, oh, this one right here. I have it in my unhaul pile by Shirley Jackson. So I know this is like a classic horror book. This is probably a me thing. I'm not a huge classic person. This book is very old. It's from like the 1940s maybe. Yeah. 1960s. So pretty much it's about this girl and this family that everyone in the town absolutely hates. They think that they are like bad luck. And I don't know, I just was really bored. Like come down to it. Like I just didn't really get, like I was maybe confused at times. I didn't really know what was going on and I was bored. So I did, like I said, these are all books I did read. I believe I read this for a readathon. It just was kind of boring to me. So I am going to unhaul it, which stinks because this book was not cheap. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is Bunny from Mona Awad. This book is the oddest book I have ever read in my entire life. I literally finished this book and was like, what the hell did I just read? It's pretty much about this girl who goes to, I think is it college or like private academy school? I don't remember exact the type of academy it is. But she gets pretty much asked to join this secret society, and in the secret society they call everyone Bunny, and they talk in like third person, and they do some very, very, very strange things, and it has some like magical elements to it, I would say. I don't know. There were times in this book where I was like, I am not smart enough to read this book, or I don't know, like, but it's funny because there are some people that absolutely love this book so much, adore it, want to read it all the time, want everyone else to read it, but it just was not for me. It just was, it was literally the oddest book I've ever read in my entire life. Like, odd. I think I gave it two stars, maybe? 2 stars. Yeah, definitely odd. I think everyone should experience it once in their life because it will probably be one of the weirdest books you'll ever read. So experience for yourself. Maybe you'll absolutely love it. But for myself, it just, I couldn't do it. So yeah. All right. The next one is The Cousins by Karen McManus. I hate putting this one here because I really like Karen McManus. This is the first book that really disappointed me by her. This is a story about where these cousins get this letter to go live with like where their grandma lives, I think, for the summer. Grandma's claim that she wants to get to know them. And the family's been really broken apart for many years. There was a huge argument with all of their moms or dads, whoever won the same family. And then they go there and yeah, that's about it. There's a weird romance in there that I didn't buy. The story fell really flat to me. It wasn't exciting. It was kind of, like I said, a lot of these books I find that were just kind of boring. I think they were kind of boring. The plot didn't do it for me, and I really liked all of other Karen McManus's work. I am a little nervous to pick up her new one. I have high hopes I'll love it as much as the other ones, but I think the biggest thing was just the plot line. It did not do it for me. They're in this town. They're trying to figure out something, which I can't say. They're also like living their spring or summer vacation. There's a romance. It just was strange. I didn't like it. So it's hard to talk about books that you don't like, I've found, because a lot of these I don't really remember. The next book I'm going to talk about is Every Vow You Break, and this is by Peter Swanson. I gave this one 3 stars, which again fits very well with the overall ratings on Goodreads. It says it's at a 3.45. This is a thriller novel about a couple that celebrating their wedding on this very, very remote island. The concept is cool. I really like it. I was really excited to read Peter Swanson's newest book. I read 8 Perfect Murders at the end of 2020 and absolutely loved it. So super excited. It sounded really cool. Isolated setting. I was all for it. But it took a very strange turn that I did not like. This book, to me, is marketed as one thing, and it turned out to be something very different. It's marketed as like a stalker kind of, and it did not deliver for me. And I think if it went that direction, this book could have been so good. but it went for a very odd way that I didn't see coming, that I did not like at all. And I feel like that's been a lot of the complaints of this book, is that they did not like the direction that this book took. And that's, I think, what ultimately I hated it, because it had really cool premises, isolation, stalker vibes from the synopsis, but I felt like it had all the things to make a good book, and it didn't do it for me. The execution was a mess. But I did haul recently Peter Swanson's other book, The Kind Worth Killing, maybe it's called. I don't know. It has like a yellow cover with like an airplane. I am super excited to read this one. I've heard great things about it. But yeah, so I'm 1 for 1 for Peter Swanson. Loved 8 Perfect Murders, but Every Value Break did not do it for me. The next one is by an author that was actually on the top of my list for 2021, and now they're on the bottom of my list. And this is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This is Riley Sager's newest release. It released in 2021. This is a road trip thriller. It takes place in the 90s. Recently, there has been some murders going on college campuses, and they call it the campus murderer or the campus killer. Really original. And our one main character is trying to get home, and so she does like a share ride board that they had at colleges, which I know my mom said that like in the 90s, like, or in the 80s, that's how they found rides home. So she finds a ride home, and it goes from there. I had potential. Like, I think this close proximity, like, I think could have been done well, but I did not enjoy it at all. I think I gave this one, let me look how many stars I gave this one. I want to say maybe I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, a lot of these were 3-star reads, so they're not like terrible. So I gave this one a 3.5, 3.75, which now, like, sitting on it for a while, I do think it was a 3.5. And even in my review, I say I liked the ending twist. I thought it was kind of interesting and how they did it. Definitely compelled me a little bit, but there was just some things I did not understand. If there is a mass killer killing college women, why would you think it is a good idea to get in a car with a stranger? I don't care if it's in the 90s, the present day, the 80s, the 70s. If there is a killer going around college campuses killing college women, why would you get into a car with someone that could be a killer, a stranger? I don't understand. Then I think there were too many things put into the plot to make it convenient. So he made our main character very unreliable by saying like she had like these movie things going on in her head and she like see things. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that betrayal of her. And I think it was the easy way out. And I think it made certain things just too convenient, and it was kind of like lazy in some ways. But yeah, it was just a disappointment for me, but I'm so sad because Lock Every Door by him is one of my favorite books of all time. But I am really excited to read this newest book. I think it's like The Lake House or something like that, and I do have high expectations for it. The last 2 are my biggest disappointments, I think, of 2021. The first one is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This one hurts my heart. So if you look on Goodreads, and I'm going to pull it up right now, people either absolutely love this book or they absolutely hate this book. There is no in between. So I love the first 2 books in this series. I think they are absolutely fabulous. But this one I gave 3 stars. Like, this was a 3-star read for me. So things that I loved being back in the world. I love Pip. I love Ravi. There are some things that are interesting. There is a big event that happens kind of towards the beginning of the book that I think was interesting and I think could have gone somewhere, but it didn't. So there were 3 major issues I had with this book. The first issue was I did not like the portrayal of Pip's character. And I get Pip has been through a lot. She has dealt with things that are unimaginable, but I don't think she dealt in the way that the character that was portrayed in the first 2 books would have dealt with it. I think that Holly Jackson was right. You could not ignore you couldn't ignore this trauma that Pip has gone through, but I don't think the way that she portrayed Pip going through it was not the Pip that the reader got to know in the first 2 books. So that really I struggled with, and I feel like that's been a lot of people's complaints. The second thing is The first two books have tons of multimedia. They have pictures, they have like write-ups of different reports and podcast stuff. And that book mixed all of the multimedia. There was very, very few multimedia parts in this book at all, and that was something that I loved in the first two other. And third, I felt that it was super predictable, and I was super bummed because, like I said, I loved the first two ones, but yeah, I thought it was kind of long. It could have been way shorter. It was a big book. It's like 400 pages, but it was a bummer. And I know people have a lot of the same thoughts, and like I said, it's either they love it or they hate it. It's very polarizing, but the portrayal of Pip really got me. And then Pip does something that I couldn't see her doing that. And I like that she addresses that she's dealing with lots of trauma and hardships, but I don't think it was done well. So that was a really big disappointment. And probably my biggest disappointment of the year is The Project by Courtney Summers. So this book, let's see the look on it. So I'm going to pull it up here on Goodreads and see what the overall rating is on it, because I'm curious to see how my thoughts match up with like the general public. I hope you guys don't hate me after these ones, because I promise you a lot of them were just because I didn't care for them, not that they were like bad books. Okay, so The Project by Courtney Summers. I gave this 2 stars, and on average it's a 3.53. So pretty average on where I felt on this book. I was super excited because it had some really big buzzwords on it. It had a cult. It had someone trying to escape a cult, trying to get their siblings out of a cult. And those were all big buzzwords with me. I thought that meant it was going to be a pretty awesome book. I even bought the special Barnes & Noble edition of it. I have never seen a cult book as boring as this book. Nothing happened. Like, it was boring. How can you make a book about cults and trying to escape cults? And they talk about how her sister is brainwashed and how she's being manipulated by the leader of the cult. Be boring. It is 100% my most disappointed book. I would not have bought I would not have bought the Barnes & Noble edition if I did not think I was going to love this book, because I did. But honestly, I couldn't even tell you what happened, because I really do not know, because nothing happened. But yeah, so these were 10 books I found really disappointing this year. Super just casual video. I'm literally in my pajamas. I got home from work early. We had to get home. We had like I said, the heat didn't work. So let me know what your most disappointing book of 2021 was. Again, these are just my opinions. Some of these books are probably loved by others, and I'm so happy for you that you love these books, because I'm sure there's books that you hate that I love, and that's what's great about reading, is that they are liked and not liked by so many different people. And that's what's great about reading, is because there's something out there for everyone, no matter your likes and tastes. So if you want to take this crazy journey with me, please make sure you press that subscribe button. If you're my friend on any of my other social media platforms, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All the information is linked down below. So stay kind, loves, and I'll see you next time. Bye.